Hi, I'm Anna. You know those moments when you look back and realize your entire life changed because you tried to do the right thing? That was me, 3 years ago. It all started when I moved in with my sister Sarah after Mark's accident. Emma was 14, Mason had just turned 12, and they just lost their dad. Sarah, well, she was barely holding it together. "I don't know what to do, Anna," she admitted during a late-night phone call, her voice breaking. "The kids are struggling, and I'm working double shifts just to keep us afloat." I still remember sitting in my tiny apartment, staring at the marketing proposal I'd been pouring my soul into. The promotion I'd been chasing for 2 years was finally within reach, but Sarah's voice kept echoing in my mind. "I'll come stay for a few months," I told her. "Help get everyone back on their feet." That few months turned into 3 years. I took a remote position, less pay, but enough flexibility to drive Mason to soccer practice and help Emma with her science projects. Slowly, we built a life. Sunday morning pancakes, homework at the kitchen table, movie nights crammed together on the couch. "You're becoming their mother more than their aunt," my best friend Tom pointed out one morning over coffee. He'd always been the voice of reason. "Sarah's letting you carry everything while she's out finding herself every weekend. When's the last time she even went to one of Mason's games?" I brushed him off. Sarah was still grieving, I told myself. But things were changing. Sarah started coming home later, talking endlessly about this amazing guy she'd met in yoga class. Keith, a successful real estate developer who, in her words, understood her journey. Then, at dinner last night, Emma was telling us about her debate team making it to the state finals when Sarah clinked her wine glass. "Keith and I have been talking," she announced, beaming. "He's moving in next month. Isn't that exciting?" The kids froze. Mason dropped his fork, and Emma's face went blank. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, the kind that warns you bad news is coming. Sarah didn't notice. "It's time for some changes around here," she continued, twirling her wine glass. "Keith has amazing ideas for renovating the house." That knot in my stomach should have screamed louder. 1 week after Keith moved in, the renovations began. I came home to find my reading nook, my little sanctuary where I'd spent hours helping Emma with homework, stripped bare. The built-in bookshelf Mark had lovingly installed, gone. "We're opening up the space," Keith said with a sweeping gesture as contractors carried out the pieces of my former refuge. "The house needs a more modern feel." Sarah agrees. Sarah just nodded, practically glowing as she hung on his every word. "The kids are excited, right?" she added. Mason mumbled something and disappeared upstairs. Emma didn't even look up from her phone. They'd both been withdrawing since Keith arrived, like shadows of their former selves. "Did you at least save Mark's photos from the bookshelf?" I asked, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Of those old things." Sarah waved dismissively. "They didn't fit the new aesthetic. Besides, it's time we all move forward." That night, I got a call from Linda, Mark's mother. "Anna, have you checked the property records lately?" she asked. Her tone made my stomach churn. "What do you mean?" "Sarah came to me last month asking about Mark's life insurance policy and the house deed. It felt off." The next morning, I went to the county records office. My hands shook as I flipped through the documents. 2 weeks before Keith moved in, Sarah had transferred full ownership of the house to herself. The house Mark and I had both paid off together after his death. When I confronted Sarah, she and Keith were in the kitchen, flipping through renovation magazines. "Oh, that old arrangement wasn't legally binding anyway," Sarah said casually, her voice dripping with indifference. "Keith says I needed full ownership for the remodeling loans." "What remodeling loans, Sarah?" I asked, my voice rising. "I put my savings into this house. We had an agreement." "Well, maybe it's time you found your own place," she replied coldly, refusing to meet my eyes. "You can't expect to live here forever." The words hit me like a slap. That weekend, I tried reaching out to the kids. I found them at the mall with Keith, shopping for expensive clothes they didn't need. Emma walked right past me without a word. Mason glanced at me briefly, his expression unreadable, before following Keith into another store. "They're just adjusting to having a proper family unit again," Keith said with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "Kids need structure, right, Sarah?" Everything fell apart on a Tuesday. I came home to find my boxes packed and sitting in the garage. Sarah was waiting in the kitchen, Keith standing beside her like a smug bodyguard. "We need you out by Thursday," she announced. "Keith's contractor needs your room for the new home office." 2 days? Sarah, this is my home too. Where am I supposed to go? It's time you got your own life, Anna, she said, her tone devoid of emotion. We're not your responsibility anymore. I stared at her, my sister, the woman who used to call me crying in the middle of the night, the woman who leaned on me through every storm. Now she couldn't even look me in the eye. "The kids need stability," she parroted, echoing Keith's words. "This is what's best for everyone." As I stood there, watching my sister choose Keith over her own family, I realized this wasn't just about the house. This was about 3 years of my life, about the kids I'd helped raise, the bonds I thought were unbreakable. I walked upstairs one last time, past Emma's room where I heard muffled crying, past Mason's door with a brand new "Keep Out" sign that hadn't been there last week. Everything had changed, but this wasn't the end. I woke up on Tom's couch at 3:00 a.m., gasping for air, the weight of everything crashing down on me. I was homeless. 3 years of my life, gone in 48 hours. "Just breathe, Jules," Tom said, sitting beside me and pressing a glass of water into my shaking hands. "You're safe here." The next morning, I went through my hastily packed boxes. At the bottom of one, I found the photo album I'd made for the kids last Christmas, pictures of Emma's first debate tournament, Mason's winning soccer goal, birthday parties, school plays. 3 years of memories. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Emma stood there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a backpack to her chest. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice trembling. She collapsed onto Tom's couch, words tumbling out between sobs. "Mom threw away my debate team trophy, said it was cluttering the new entertainment room. And when I got upset, Keith said I was being ungrateful for all their improvements." "What about Mason? Is he okay?" I asked gently. Emma's face crumpled. "Keith's taking him golfing every weekend, buying him all this expensive stuff. He keeps saying, 'This is what a real father figure looks like.' Mason's different now. He quit soccer last week, said it's for little kids. Your dad loved watching him play," I whispered. Emma wiped her face. "Mom says we're not supposed to talk about Dad anymore. Keith doesn't like it." Before I could respond, police lights flashed outside. 2 officers approached the door. "We received a report of a kidnapped minor," one of them said. "What? I didn't kidnap anyone," I exclaimed. "Emma came here on her own." Sarah appeared behind the officers, Keith at her side. "Emma, sweetie, come home," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Anna's just upset because she can't accept change." "I'm not going," Emma screamed. "You're destroying everything." Linda, Mark's mother, arrived just in time. She stepped forward, her voice sharp and steady. "I have documentation of everything," she said, handing over papers, including Sarah's refusal of Mark's life insurance payments and child support from his pension. The money meant for these kids. Keith's head snapped towards Sarah. "What life insurance? What pension?" "It wasn't important," Sarah stammered, her composure cracking. "Is that why you've been borrowing money from everyone?" Linda demanded. "Is that why you needed Keith's loans?" Keith's face darkened. "You told me the renovation loan was your first debt. What else haven't you told me?" As the police left, deeming the matter civil, Linda offered to let Emma stay with her. As they drove away, I watched Keith walk to his car alone, Sarah calling after him in vain. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about protecting what matters most. Watching Emma choose to walk away, I knew we were finally on the path to something like justice. 3 weeks later, Mason slid into a diner booth across from me. "Mom doesn't know I'm here," he said, stirring his milkshake, looking so much like Mark it hurt. She took my phone. "But I borrowed Emma's old one," Mason said, holding up a slightly outdated phone. His voice was quiet but steady. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "Keith moved out last week. The contractors stopped coming. Mom just sits in the half-finished living room, making calls about loans," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. Then he pushed a folder across the table. "I found these in Dad's old office." I opened it and found documents about the house, Mark's original purchase, renovation records, and proof of his investments. Linda had been right all along. The next day, Linda called a family meeting at her house. Sarah arrived last, looking diminished without Keith by her side. Her designer outfit was wrinkled, and her usually perfect hair was a mess. "This ends today," Linda began, her voice firm. "Mark left provisions for his children's futures, Sarah. You hid them from everyone, including the court." "I was protecting my family," Sarah protested, her voice breaking. "By refusing child support, by taking loans against their home, by erasing Dad." Emma's voice trembled with anger. "You don't understand," Sarah pleaded. "No, you don't understand," Mason interjected, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Dad's gone, but that doesn't mean you get to rewrite our lives." Sarah's composure finally crumbled. "Everything I did was for us," she sobbed. Keith sighed. "Keith's gone, Mom," Emma said, standing tall. "Just like everyone else you've pushed away." The following weeks passed in a blur of court appearances. Linda was granted temporary guardianship of the kids. During the property hearing, Mark's original investment in the house was revealed, proving Sarah's actions had been deceitful. "The house needs to be sold," Emma announced during a family session. Her tone was resolute. "It's not a home anymore, just a monument to lies. And Anna deserves part of the proceeds," Mason added. "She was there for us when you weren't, Mom." Faced with mounting renovation loans and no Keith to bail her out, Sarah didn't fight back. Perhaps she couldn't anymore. 3 months later, I found an apartment near Linda's place. The house was sold, settling debts and giving us all a chance at a fresh start. Sarah moved into a small rental, taking on extra shifts to pay off her remaining loans. "Do you think Mom will ever change?" Emma asked one evening as we helped Mason with his college applications. He had rejoined the soccer team, and his athletic scholarship prospects were looking bright. "People can change," I replied, "but relationships have to be earned back, one day at a time." Linda brought out the photo albums she'd saved, the ones Sarah had tried to throw away. We spent hours adding new pictures alongside the old ones. Different faces, same love. Sometimes family isn't about shared blood or perfect facades. It's about who stays when the truth comes out, who helps you rebuild from the rubble of broken trust. Sarah is still working on herself. The kids visit her sometimes on their own terms. As for me, I learned that home isn't always where you start, but where you end up after the storm passes, and we're all better for weathering it together. That's Anna's story of betrayal and redemption. What would you do if someone you sacrifice everything for, your career, your home, your future, betrayed you? Would you seek revenge, or would you focus on protecting the innocent people caught in the middle? Share your thoughts in the comments below.